everyone. Welcome to My Transplant Story. My name is Liz Lusk, and I'm so thrilled that you're joining us today, sponsored by the National Kidney Foundation. Today, we're joined by Megan Connelly. Hi, Megan.
Hi, how are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm good, doing well. Thanks for having me.
Oh, we're so glad that you're here, and thank you so much for joining us and speaking with us today, telling us your transplant story. For all the listeners and watchers out there, if you would like to share your transplant story, feel free to go to kidney.org/share your story, and you might be featured in one of our next episodes. So let's go ahead and get started. Megan, tell us a little bit about yourself and start your transplant story.
Yeah, so my name is Megan Connelly. I work as Megan Morant for WWE. And honestly, this time last year, I really didn't know much about kidneys at all. I knew we had them, I knew we had two of them, but I didn't know much about them at all. Until a coworker of mine, I learned that he was in kidney failure and was in search of a kidney. And through talking with him at work, I learned that the surgery was laparoscopic. And for some reason, I was just so intrigued about this process. So I went home that weekend and I went on kidney.org and I read probably every page that you could read on that website. I learned about what goes into the process of donating a kidney. I learned what the testing was like. I learned what some of the risks are. And my biggest takeaway was, oh, I can do this and help somebody and save their lives and help their family. And I will have a perfectly normal and healthy life. And if there is anything in my background or with my health that could put me at risk for certain things, the hospital just won't do it. So to me, it just kind of seemed like a no-brainer. So I went ahead and I tested for my coworker. And when I tested, I was like dead set. I really wanted to do this. And I can't really pinpoint why. It just, like when I learned about it, it made sense to me. It was like, oh, I have something that somebody else needs and I could help somebody and really continue to live my life like normal. Absolutely. I would 1,000% do that. So I got a call that I was not a match and that they already found another match. And I didn't expect it, but I was really bummed. I was obviously happy that they found a match and that everything was going to be great. But I really wanted to do this. So I just kind of said to myself, like, all right, well, if it ever comes up again, I hadn't like mentally got to the point where I was like, oh, I would do this for a stranger yet. And then a couple weeks later, I was on a group chat with my previous coworkers. I used to work at the New England Patriots, and I was on a group chat with all my coworkers, and somebody was talking about how they had kidney stones, and I was being honestly sort of sarcastic. I mean, I wasn't, but I just said, if you ever, at this point, I learned so much about kidneys that, I heard kidney stones. I'm like, oh, I know all about kidneys. I'd become like an online expert in kidneys. And so I just said, I was like, oh, if you ever need a kidney, let me know. I just tested to donate and it didn't work out. And I even sent a gift to be funny. And it was just like the Oprah gift where she says, you get a car, you get a car. And I wrote, you get a kidney, you get a kidney. And at this point, my husband was sort of joking with me. He was like, man, you're just dying to give that thing away, aren't you? And I was like, well, yes, but no. And so the next thing I know, my phone rings and it was my old boss. And he said, are you being serious about that kidney? And I said, yeah. Why? And he said, well, my wife, Margaret, is in kidney failure. And at this moment, I was like, what are the chances that that would keep recurring in my life? So I just really felt called to do this. So they had just found out the news that she was in kidney failure. And I quite frankly knew more about the process than they did at this point. So I said instantly, what blood type are you? And it turned out our blood types were not a match. So I said, look, I can still donate through this program that the National Kidney Registry has called the Joint Donor Program. And then I also learned about the voucher program. And really, you don't need someone who's a match. You just need someone who is willing to donate. And it actually can have a trickle-down effect that impacts more people, which is something that I had no idea. I thought like you had to search to find a match, but that's not the case. And I think a lot of people don't know that. So I know it's easier if they find a one-to-one match, like she wouldn't have to wait as long. So I told them like, I will start testing, but you guys can continue to look. And if you find a match, I wouldn't take offense to that in any way, shape, or form. And yeah, I started testing in like November, December, and then I got the green light to donate my kidney in April. And then a couple of things came up work related, so it pushed my day back a little. But on July 12th, I donated my left kidney. And my kidney got on a plane from Boston, Massachusetts at Mass General Hospital. My kidney got on a plane and flew all the way to Los Angeles, California, and was transplanted into a man who was a stranger to me. We have since connected. His name is Joseph, and his mother donated on his behalf. So as soon as my kidney went into Joseph's body, Joseph's mother's kidney was donated to somebody else. And then that person had a relative who donated to somebody else. And so basically this whole trickle effect happened where on July 12th, because of my donation, 4 people got a kidney.
Yay! That's amazing. Amazing.
So
amazing that it was, yes. Well, thank you for doing that. Thank you to all the recipients out there. We appreciate your selfless gift and your determination. I think that's what makes your story fabulous, is that you were determined to do this. This was something you were going to do, and the cards just fell into place and allowed you to do that. I think it's really interesting to hear about the trickle effect, like you just talked about, that you don't have to donate to, it doesn't have to be person to person, but it can be a trickle, it can be a chain. It's sometimes a little bit different than the trickle. But so did your boss's wife get a kidney through this yet?
So not yet. Yesterday was 9 weeks since I donated. And so now what I didn't know, you can sort of enter this program 2 different ways. We could have entered as a pair. And so my blood type is B and her blood type is O. And if we entered as a pair, that would mean that I gave and she would get on the very same day, which is initially what I wanted. But because I'm blood type B, that's a rarer type of blood. So we would have to wait for another BO pair to enter the system for our day to come, which would take a whole heck of a lot longer. So by me advance donating, Margaret will get her kidneys sooner. They say on average, it's a little bit over 3 months. So I say it literally every day, but I'm like, she should be getting a call any day saying that she has her kidney. So she will get it. That's been a little tricky for me, just like navigating that she still hasn't got, but connecting with my recipient has been so rewarding, so amazing. I'm so glad he's doing well. Like, we hope to meet someday. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, you brought up my determination, and it's like, once I learned about this process, I just really wanted to do it. I think it's hard to like live in ifs and buts and whens, but I think if the situation with Margaret never came up, I would have eventually at some point donated my kidney to somebody. Just because learning about the process, the doctors made it really simple and safe, and I was encouraged and supported every step of the way. And it was just something I really felt called to do.
Oh, I love that. I'm so glad that your doctor supported you. I'm so glad that your husband, I'm assuming, supported you.
Yeah, at first he thought I was a little crazy. He was like, wait, you want to do what?
Has it made him or any of your family or friends kind of go, ooh, I could do that too?
It has been eye-opening. Like at first my mother was like, you're nuts. You're not doing this. There's no way you're doing this. And since she's seen me recovered, and since she's seen me, go on to live a very normal life. I'm a marathon runner. Last week I ran 12 miles, and it's been 9 weeks. So like I feel really good and really normal. And the more people in my life that see me like, oh, you just donated an organ and you're still yourself, I think that's been eye-opening to a lot of people. But like going in, the doctors made that like very clear to me, like you're going to be totally fine. So, and I think that's something a lot of people don't know, which I get, it's a big gift. You're giving up an organ to somebody, but like also one of the pictures that made me really emotional, my recipient sent me a picture of his entire family. So it was like aunts and uncles and nieces and nephews. And, I looked at that picture and I got goosebumps because I'm like, wow, you think you're just impacting one person, but every single person in this picture is impacted by what I did. And it just makes me feel really good. But it also reminds me, I I would do it for somebody, and I would hope that somebody would do it for me. And like, that's why we're here, like to help each other through these tough times. I mean, kidney failure is awful, and I wouldn't wish it upon anybody. But the one positive about kidney failure is there's something you can do about it, right? Like somebody can donate to you, and I think that's really empowering and gives a lot of people who are in that situation a lot of hope.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, everyone watching and listening, we need 90,000 people to stand up and say that they're going to donate an organ. We need 90,000 living donors today. We should start a telethon. We might be able to get that, especially with your WWE connections. Get some people out there. So, one question: being in a different location and different center and everything, what testing did you have to go through, and what was it like being tested before your actual surgery?
Yeah, so the first test was simple. It was just 2 blood tests, and one was a blood typing test, and the other was a tissue typing test. And then once that came through, the next test was I had to do a 24-hour urine collection, which for me, the most difficult part about that is you can't do any strenuous exercise leading up to it because it could impact the amount of creatinine that's in your urine. And I'm a marathon runner, so I was training to run the Boston Marathon. So, I mean, it really wasn't that difficult, but I just had to like change around, like, oh, I'm not going to run this day, or run this day, or whatever. So, and yeah, it's 24 hours from the time you wake up until the next day, and then you drop it off. And then once that came back okay, there were like little checkbox. It was like, okay, this looks good, this looks good. And then I went to Mass General Hospital I flew there for my big appointment where they took images of my kidneys. They collected blood. They, did all of the tests. I met with the surgeon. I met with the social worker. I met with everybody that day. And then the way it was described to me, it was pretty much after they collect all of this data, they take each patient to a board of doctors, and they present the case. They say, here is our patient, Megan Connelly, and here are her results for this, and here is her background, and would it be safe for this candidate to donate? And the way that it was explained to me is essentially the doctors either say yes, no, or they defer for more testing. So that was in about April that happened for me. And I was so nervous going in because, you get your mind made up that you really want to do this. And I was in constant contact with Margaret, who's my indirect recipient. And, she's like praying as I'm going into this appointment, please everything be okay. And so when I got the call that it was going to happen, that was really a big day for both of us, for me. And then for her, it was hope. And the doctors told her, you're going to get a kidney out of this. You can stop looking. And she was getting ready to start a website and all these other things. So that was a big weight lifted off both of our shoulders. And then we scheduled the surgery. So I travel a lot for work, and my husband's family is from Massachusetts. We used to live there. So for us, we felt really supported being in that hospital. And it honestly worked out okay for us. The travel component, like I only had to fly down there for my surgery and for my big appointment day.
Mm-hmm. And then how many nights were you in the hospital?
Only one.
Oh, one? Oh, that's amazing.
So yeah, I went in on a Wednesday and I came home Thursday afternoon.
That is, okay, guys, seriously, 90,000 people. All we need is 90,000 people to say that they're going to be the next Megan Connelly. I'm sure there's lots of people out there that want to be you anyway, and now they want to be you because you're a living donor, and that's amazing. And now you get a cool, groovy scar. It's not like it used to be. We're not, taking your whole side out.
I know.
My husband.
Really cute. They're like, I have 2 little dots, and then I have one like tiny little scar right by my pubic bone. But yeah, I feel, only the one night in the hospital, like everybody told me, like when you're done with the surgery, you're not going to want to get up, but you have to get up and walk. And that was really the key for me, was every couple hours I'd get up and take a couple laps around the hospital. And it was so cool to be on the transplant floor. I mean, people giving, people receiving, and I walked laps. I walked laps with a girl named Braden who had just received a liver from her best friend, 60% of her best friend's liver. And we would walk together and talk. And so it was just cool to be on that floor and see the impact that was made on people's lives.
Yes. Well, hi, Braden. You know, your livers. We love you at the National Kidney Foundation. We love our liver patients as well. So, what advice would you give someone considering this?
If you're considering it, I mean, I don't want to tell other people what to do with their body, but if you feel called to do this, it is a beautiful, beautiful gift that you can give to not just one person, but their entire family. And it's a gift that will give for generations to come. If you are considering, I would encourage you to consider more, to research more, to ask questions, because it really can change so many people's lives. I am so glad I did it. And I sit here and say, oh, nothing's really changed. But at the same time, so much has changed. And it's sort of given my life this whole new meaning. But then at the same time, I'm still the same person. So it's been great, and I'm really proud that I did it, and I feel really passionate about it, and I can't wait until Margaret gets hers. So
Yes, yes, we're all praying for you, Margaret, definitely.
yeah.
So we mentioned your shirt before we started recording, but if you want to go ahead and give a shout out to what your shirt says.
Oh, my shirt says Massachusetts General Hospital Transplant Center. Dr. Dagaford took great care of me. All the nurses on the floor were fantastic. Yeah, it was. I had such a great experience. The donor coordinator team there, they were fantastic, and supported me the whole way. And as a living donor, you can, if you ever feel like you need to, you can back out at any time, and that's totally supported. And I was educated and informed and knew that at any time I could make the decision that was best for me. And I did that, and they still supported me through everything 9 weeks post donation. So thank you to everybody at Mass General. It was a great experience, and I'll be a part of the community for life.
Oh, yay! So exciting, so exciting. Well, thank you, Megan, for sharing your story. We really appreciate it. And thank you to everyone watching. Again, I'm Liz Lusk, and on behalf of the National Kidney Foundation, we wish you good health, and we'll see you next time.